Howdy, all of you delicious people. I am here today to talk to you about season 3. Season 3, episode 1 of The Masked Singer. I'm here again talking about the show. Man, like it felt like season 2 was already done. Now we're talking about season 3. Man. What a quick jaunt this was to go to the next season. Um just so people know, right after the Super Bowl, an episode of Masked Singer came on. And we didn't get 2 hours of it, but it was this season's premiere. So if you missed out, without a doubt, go on Hulu right now. Check it out on Hulu. You can go and check out the season premiere on Hulu. Because otherwise, you're going to see one less person on Wednesday. And then they're probably going to be recapping to you to tell you who that was or whatever. And you're going to miss out. You're going to be ticked. You're gonna be like, what the? I didn't know. I didn't know this show was already on. You probably should have, because ultimately it kept saying that Super Bowl, it's playing during the Super Bowl, it's on during the Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. But anyways, I'm gonna tell you ultimately by the end of the episode who had gotten unmasked tonight, because one person had got unmasked. It wasn't just a preview episode to preview who the people were. No, it was an actual legitimate episode where eventually someone got actually eliminated. Evidently this season is going vastly different than the previous seasons. Evidently the people that you're seeing on this episode are going to be on here until a certain amount of people get eliminated, and then they move on to a different group of people. So it's kind of like a pyramid, or a tier system, instead of actually just like having different people through every week, which is weird. So yeah, you're gonna see these monsters, these caricatures. We're not gonna have time to be able to marinate on these characters. We're not gonna be able to like have a week to really think of who they are. We're gonna have days to be able to come up with more answers of who we think these people are. Ultimately leading to then we have eventually, because the next episode is on Wednesday. We have days to figure this out. So, but luckily this show is only an hour long. The episode on Wednesday will be an hour long. So yeah, so we're getting 2 hours, but in a span of a couple days. Anyways, so yeah, this show, it's really funny because all the people that sang on this episode, I'm like, God, why do all these voices sound so effing familiar? But I can't really quite 100% place them somewhere. So if somebody has a little bit of more kernel of knowledge than I do, for heaven forbid, let me know if you think that I am right or I am wrong, or you have a strong belief that so and so person is so and so. At the end of the day, if I am right and or wrong, I will honestly, in brutal honesty, swear to whoever I have to that I am not by any means trying to cheat, like trying to do this after the fact so I can kind of rig my results to say, yeah, like I won every single pick and this is how I, like I connivingly just like after the fact edited in that like I really chose this person when all actuality um like I never had this person in the foggiest of minds. So, within time, you're also going to see who else I picked that did not get unmasked tonight. So maybe you can come up with a consensus who you think it is. I think a lot of this episode, I might have actually went with some of the judges. Um, I consented with the judges at some points, but I think every once in a while I kind of differed. I kind of was just like, you know what, this really just sounds like this guy for some bizarre effing reason. I don't know why. But like I figured why not just choose this person and maybe be right? Who knows? So letting you know now who had gotten eventually unmasked tonight, but I won't actually tell you who it is until the very end of the episode. I'm going to give you a double 5 spoiler time count, and then I'm going to tell you and show you exactly who got unmasked. So don't be wary about spoilers. Just worry about that to the end of the episode. Because I'm going to go through and pick who I insist may be this goondish people of kinds and what have you. So, anyways, one thing to let you know, definitely subscribe if you guys like this if you guys like this show. You know, I'm going to be talking about it after, like, the morning basically after every episode, unless there is a change where the show didn't come on for specific reasons, like they took like an absence of some sort for some reason, um and this and that. But I'm in fact going to try to give you this as quickly as possible, unless there's some technical issue or something along those lines. Anyways, let's get on to letting you know. Definitely subscribe. Donate to the channel if you'd like. I'm only asking for dollars or dimes. Um, yeah, if you'd like to help out the channel for technical reasons, because we might not usually have the best setups and stuff like that, setting you up to let you know that you can go down below and donate to the channel. But anyways, let's get on to who I thought was behind the maskal thing that we see here throughout our days. Letting you know right now, this man here, the robot, had got unmasked tonight. Just letting you know that. I'm not going to tell you who it is until the end of the episode. I'll give you a double five, and then we'll spoil who it was. And then I'll be like, yay, or nah, or blah, blah. So, let's go on to who I thought, via performance, who I thought who people were. Let's get on to that. Right off the bat, let's not do that. The first person that had been performing tonight was the White Tiger. And ultimately, I was looking at the clues and I'm like, whatever. just get away with those clues. Get away from my life with those clues. The White Tiger, ultimately, his performance, I could not figure out who he sounded. While this White Tiger was talking, though, there was something about his cadence, the way he talked, that really did sound very much like Jason Momoa. Like, something about the way he was like, and like the way like he was very aggressive with how he sounded, how he talked, how he whatever. Like, there was something very aggressive about how he was talking. So ultimately that kind of led me to believe that it might have been Jason Momoa, and kind of Jamie Foxx, who had been guest hosting tonight, had come to that same kind of consensus. And ultimately, like, I was thinking, like, yeah, like, I'm sure, like, Jason Momoa is used to wearing that kind of garb, especially when it came to like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. But I was also kind of floating bizarrely, because there had been, in my mind, I was also thinking of like Jason David Frank, who had played the White Tiger Power Ranger for years on the Power Ranger show. Like, for some bizarre reason, I was thinking of that as well. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the White Power Ranger from Power Rangers, the original from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, could be like this character? But ultimately, because Jason David Frank had been in like cage fights and stuff like that, and he had been in a school Power Rangers. He was in a show where he was in a school and stuff like that. That kind of somehow connected. But ultimately, I connected to the pure fact that Jason Momoa, like, yeah, it kind of, like, from the sound, the cadence of when they asked him questions, it really did sound like Jason. I could be wrong. Like, going off bizarrish, like, sound, like, not even going about, like, clues or the way this person sings, just going off the way that this person talked. But even when they talked, like, they had like a muffled kind of voice, so you couldn't really tell it was Jason exactly. But that, I think that's where I'm kind of heading. if anybody does have a better insight to any of these clues or any of these actual, they could consent that realistically, no, like you're way off the beaten path. I think it's this person, and maybe I'll look into it too. And then I'll be like, yeah, sounds right. Sounds legitimate. Sounds like okay, like I can tie some of these clues to this masked singer. Like again, I couldn't like the whole Vanilla Ice thing. I was just kind of like, I can't really tell who this is. I can't tell at all. So it was kind of interesting. Like if this character picks a different song, maybe the within the next few days, then I'll be better able to think of who this actually is. But until that time, all I can think about right now is that it could be Jason Momoa. Moving on. So the turtle. The turtle. Right away I'm like, man, this guy sounds really good. Even if it is a guy, who knows? It could be a woman under that and under that garb. But realistically, there were just something about this. Besides his character sounding really good, and he sounded like "Kiss from a Rose," Seal Song, Mazel Tov, great, awesome. Ultimately, I think Jenny McCarthy was thinking that there was a lot of this stuff that was the clues tied to her in some reason, and I thought that was kind of legitimate. Also, I was thinking Joy McIntyre because ultimately, like he said step by step in the clue. In the clue, he said step by step, which is of course a New Kids on the Block song. I was thinking Joey McIntyre just because, like, that's like I know Joey did a solo career, and recently to hear him like solo and to kind of cue up this turtle character, it sounds very similar. But ultimately, I was also kind of gravitating to Gavin DeGraw. Just because of the sound, just because of the tone, I was also kind of thinking of Gavin DeGraw because if you kind of like I don't know, like I think Gavin does sound a little bit more gravelly than this character, than this turtle character, but maybe he spent a lot of time away and kind of and or he's is trying to change his voice. And plus, Gavin DeGraw was one of the suggestions from last season that he was never there. Plus, Gavin had been on a Dancing with the Stars show, evidently. So maybe there is an easy way to connect this person to this show. But ultimately, my main thing was really Joey. Like, I kind of went to Gavin later just to kind of have more guesses, but I was thinking Joey, like, right away. Because just the sound, like, like, Joey always sounded really good. So ultimately, that's kind of where I went on my travels of guessing. So, yeah, that's who I thought. The llama evidently is a comedian, evidently is a person that questionably can questionably do some singing of sorts. Maybe. I ultimately floated to and I'm gonna butcher this name. Uh, Eugenio Derdex. Derdex? Eugenio Derdex is who I'm thinking this person is. If you honestly don't know who this person is, because he's a very popular Spanish comedian actor. He has kind of been making some waves in kind of some movies here and there. He is has current like the thing that I know him most for is being on the remake of the movie Overboard. People might know him from quite questionably that, or maybe some things here and there. He's been in like quite a bit of like romance movies and stuff like that. Ultimately, when Like I was thinking like, okay, this kind of feels like this person, maybe like the sound or something like that. Like I don't think Der Dex could really sing. Like I've never really seen him actually really sing. But ultimately him picking a Ricky Martin song was like, okay. It'll be interesting to see what he does in the previous days. What song he chooses to sing. But ultimately, this is kind of where I floated to right off the bat. Even though I couldn't really say the name quite exactly. Eugenio Derdex. If I'm even saying this correctly, I apologize if I'm butchering his name. And people are just like, I love that guy, I love him, or whatever, and you're saying his name wrong. I apologize, but otherwise, like this is the only person that could think in my mind right away. Could be like, okay, like comedian, and I don't know if Derek Dex he does like podcasting or he has a radio station somewhere, or because that's kind of what the whole thing was, is that it was like a disc jockey was his clues. The Joker thing kind of made me think of like a comedian, so that kind of floated me to here. um Other than that, yeah, I couldn't really think of anything more than just like right away I was thinking comedian, and then I was thinking of tone, and immediately I floated to this guy here that is famously known for being a Spanish actor. Like he's kind of really have has done so well that he's started to do movies here in America. But the only one that I can think of in my mind right away is the remake of Overboard. That's the only one I can think of. Um, so yeah, that is my pick for the llama. If you guys have any more suggestions of who this could quite possibly be for the llama, let me know, because there's some of these where I would like suggestions for. Because ultimately, I have no effing clue. I'm like for most of these, it's shots in the dark. It's just me just guessing and see if it works. Um, but I think Eugenio, if I'm even pronouncing that right, uh, yeah, he's famous Spanish actor. So let's move on. Reasonably, for I guess would be like the Miss Pac-Man of this show. We have Miss Monster. Ultimately, with this singer, I felt I'm like, man, this character, this person that's under this costume does seem to have a very old soul. Like it does seem like whenever I hear like someone like this, like immediately for some bizarrish reason, I'm always like Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. Like how about it? How about it's Shaka Khan? I don't know why I always go and float to that. Like immediately, I'm always thinking like right away it's like Shaka Khan, and then I'm probably wrong. Um, but if anything, one of the judges said Dion Warwick, which yeah, I listened to some of her. Like, how could you not? Like, there's some good tunes that she has had over the span of time of which she had sang. Um, or Diana, Dionna Warwick. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but I apologize. Um, I'm probably even misspelling the name of her name, and I apologize for that. But ultimately, singer Warwick, yeah, cause there's got to be some legendary singers in here somewhere. Um, Ultimately, I want to really hear this character more. Um, because really, like out of everybody, she was like the one where I was like, I don't know. I have like I'm shot shooting in the dark here. I really am more so than anybody else shooting for this one in the dark, because I'm thinking like could be Warwick, but I was also like thinking of any number of names like Tina Turner's and Shaka Khan's and also kind of leading me to Warwick also, but man, it was just a mad scramble. I could have had like 5 different picks of this one person, but I didn't want to go overboard. The last one was kind of funny. Anyways, but yeah, so yeah, this was like immediately kind of who I floated to, but you know what? I'm not sure. I feel like it could be Shaka Khan. I feel like it could be Tina Turner. I feel it could be any number of people. And this might be a loss in my eyes because otherwise I won't be able to consent right away that, like, oh yeah, it's definitely this person. And then she'll get eliminated within days. And I'm like, oh my God. God, that sucked. That sucked. But, anyways, let's move on. Who I thought was the robot, who I thought immediately, and then who I kind of thought after the fact. Reasonably, of course, like I said, the robot is going home, or went home on this first episode. I'm not going to spoil who the robot is. I'm going to let you know. Double 5 count. You'll know. So, who I immediately thought once I heard robot did this thing called singing. Immediately in my mind, I was like Lil Wayne. I was like Lil Wayne. I was like, if you listen to the beginning of the song Lollipop, Lil Wayne, it's like the same thing. It's basically the same thing. If you listen to the beginning of the song Lollipop and you start hearing this person chime out his lyrics for this song, I'm like, well, clearly it's Lil Wayne. Like, clearly. Like, I was immediately, like, just like, okay, I've never actually heard Lil Wayne actually ever sing on a song, so ultimately I can make a clear consensus that if this person is going to sing, they're not going to sing in the aspect of like belting out hits and stuff like that. But ultimately, I didn't want to see the robot go. I didn't want to see the robot go. Oh, that was disheartening. Just like, oh man, robot, no. I kind of wish he would have hung in a little bit longer there, but oh well, it is what it is. Someone would have had to have gone home eventually. Also, Jamie Foxx ultimately did mention Steve-O, and I was like, yeah, like tone, it does sound like Steve-O. I don't know if Steve-O, because like the whole clues were kind of like a daredevil, a person that skateboards and does all these like stunts and stuff like that. So it's ultimately like, yeah, it could be Steve-O. Like tone wise, it could sound like Steve-O, but like I was just kind of like, I think that guess was kind of like in the back burner just because I was immediately just like, I was thinking it was Lil Wayne. Um, like I like was like, well, I let's give Jamie Foxx some credit, some street credit, and throw in Steve-O because sounds like it, sounds like it. So yeah. So those were my 2 guesses. Hopefully by the end of the episode, I was correct because ultimately we gotta accumulate these things to see if ultimately by the end of the season if I have more wins than losses. And ultimately, I hope that I am still, I guess, questionably in most of the win column by the end of the season, but I'm not 100% sure. With this one, I'm not going to be able to get suggestions of who this person is because it's too late. So now, if I am right or if I'm wrong, then I would not have been able to get any guesses from anyone. So let's move on. Let's move on to the last character, the kangaroo. I don't know why, but it seemed like the clue thing or something about the clue said Australian. Like there is an Australian singer. I don't really know what the F anybody was. I don't even know if this person is a man or a woman Who knows? But ultimately, I kind of bizarrely floated to none of those effing guesses that the judges were going with. For some reason, Chris Brown kind of just floated into my radar of my mind. And ultimately, I just questionably thought that the Kangaroo could be Chris Brown for some effing reason. Like, tone wise, like, this masked singer has a very distinct tone that not a lot of people have. So ultimately, first off, I was maybe questioning that it could be Chris Brown for some reason. Maybe there might ultimately have been some Google searching that I didn't do where Chris Brown is nowhere to be uh, able to be on the show. But that's kind of like my first random shots in the dark that I assumed that maybe this Kangaroo character could be Chris Brown, even though a lot of people were guessing this to be a female singer. Let me know in the comments below who you think the Kangaroo could be. Because, excuse me, because ultimately, there might be a wide variety of guesses. There might be a wide variety of people that are already consenting that it's like, no, you're wrong. Like, actually, it's this artist that you've never heard of in your life, and this and that. I don't know much Australian singers, but ultimately they would have had to have made some kind of mark in America for for like if anything, I think it's Chris Brown for some reason. I don't know why. Something about the tone of his voice is making me assume that, but I can be completely and utterly wrong. Um Ultimately, for this person telling us that they had a very they've had a very hard they've had a very hard issues and stuff like that. They've had a very much like hard road about a hoe, you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like they're going in, like, they're having issues and stuff like that everywhere they go. Currently, I know Chris Brown is having issues with something going on with his daughter lately, where like his daughter, like somebody like he's in the news recently about his like daughter being shown photos of or something like that. I don't know the news because I don't look that far into it because I try to avoid it a lot of times because it's the news. It's boring, or it's just not something that I need to go out of my way to do. But yeah, Chris Brown, shot in the dark. So ultimately, Chris Brown, or the Kangaroo, was our last performer for the night. So ultimately, now we're going to get a point now of me spoiling the show. I'm going to do a double five count, and then after that, I will show you who the robot was because the robot had gotten eliminated tonight. I will tell you via the showcasing if I was right and wrong, and this and that, and how I'm feeling about the thing. The only difference is when I would kind of do the spoiler variation afterwards, I would kind of do a season recap. For this being the very first episode of season 3, I can't really do much of a season recap because there isn't much of a season to go on yet. It's just one episode. So more than likely, I might just be yay or naying like how like I'm feeling about this very first guest of the show. Luckily, we only had one character to unmask tonight, because ultimately, yeah, if I would have had two, I would have just been like, well, like this kind of episode will probably cancel one another out because I might have gotten one wrong and one incorrect, and it just would have been like 50-50, and or I would have gotten both wrong and like now I'm like 2-0. So let's go on and now do the spoiler aspect to the show. I'm going to give you a double five now. If you guys don't want to be spoiled of who the robot was. Click off now, but if you want to see if I was right, then stay around. You can see if I was right and this and that. So, we're gonna go. So, right now, spoiler time, I'm gonna rhyme because it's now time to show you who the robot was. The robot was none other than Lil Wayne, Grammy winning rapper, record executive, and entrepreneur. Lil Wayne! Man, that's awesome. Because like man, everybody like the judges were completely blown away that it was Lil Wayne because like Lil Wayne is like huge in the music scene. Like Lil Wayne is like huge for this show. It's a huge get. Luckily enough, for this show, but it's sad to see Lil Wayne go so soon. Man, god dang it! If somebody would have just been begrudgingly just kept the robot in just for a little bit longer, because I was like, as soon as I saw Lil Wayne, I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. Like, I immediately knew it was Lil Wayne. Like, but ultimately that whole Steve-O thing kept like burrowing in my head, and I was just like, maybe it is Steve-O. Like, but ultimately I was just like, it like in my heart of hearts, like this feels like Lil Wayne. And like ultimately I went with my real gut decision, and it was a quick decision to make. It wasn't something that like instantly I heard him, instantly I was like Lil Wayne. And ultimately that paid off. Luckily enough. Luckily I'd heard that song called Lollipop, otherwise I would have never have known. I'm like, yeah, I guess it's Lil Wayne, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, yeah. So I enjoy Lil Wayne's music. I'm sure a crap ton of people do. Hence why everyone was really probably blown away of why Lil Wayne is actually on this show. But you know, he probably loves this show. Like, if anything, his kids love the show. So ultimately, it's great to see him on here. It's great to see him in that costume. It was really good. It was really good. And ultimately, we're starting off this season on a good foot. Cause yeah, Lil Wayne scoreboard put one on the scoreboard. Freaking starting out this season on a good footing. Second season, man, did I guess wrong twice. So it's very nice to be able to put one on the scoreboard right away, and then eventually, probably on Wednesday, I will be horrifically wrong by whoever it is. But at least I will only have one person to be wrong about. And then ultimately, maybe I will be right. Maybe I might be right as well. So ultimately, it's just maybe I might be right on that second thing, and I'll have two. It'll be two wins, zero losses. And I don't know. I'm feeling good about this season right out of the gate. Man, all the costumes feel like there's really money poured into these costumes. Like every once in a while, you would get a costume here and there where you're just like, ugh. That one kind of feels like a very cheap costume. This one kind of feels like a cheap costume. Like for this season, it feels like they're really sparing no expense. Like they're really pouring money into all these costumes, and they look great. They look amazing. They look freaking goofy as heck through some of these. But a lot of it is so much fun. So for this one, yeah, we got this guess correct. I'm so happy to be able to say that. But we just got started. Like we just got this thing rolling. So there's so many more episodes to go through. There's 18 mass singers to reveal. So I get the feeling I am going to be going off and on a wagon and it's gonna be a wild ride throughout this season. It's gonna be a roller coaster of just like, oh my god, I was so close. Funny enough, with clues, supposedly the clues, like for some effing reason, they're really trying to prevent people from figuring out who these people are, because a lot of the times people can change their voices to hear who they actually are at points. So like, I guess there's people with soundboards right now just trying to decipher who these people actually are under the masks. And like supposedly, like the show is even going further out of their way to try to like the clue section might actually be a third party person between the show and the actual masked person. There might be a third party person who's related to said person giving clues, which is effing weird. That's what I've kind of heard is going on about the show, but I don't know if that's exactly a real legitimate thing. And ultimately, I just think that's stupid. Like, if people are gonna go out of their way to get some kind of soundboard to decipher who these people are, then by God, let them do it. Like, good grief, if they're gonna go to that extended measure to figure out who these people are, then by golly, let them do it. It's like that's the whole thing. You can Google people to the heavens and get the answer. Like that's the thing. Like that's what I don't get is just let the people just do what they do, and the show doesn't have to go out of their way to just like, well, now I'm gonna throw this other wrench in here so that way they don't figure out who it is. It's like, well, the clues suck. The clues suck, so what do you think people are gonna do? People are gonna come up with some kind of way of getting around all of this stuff. Because ultimately, the clues suck. The clues really suck. They do. Like, there's barely ever any clue anywhere that you can really decipher what anything is. It's super difficult. And ridiculously so. So I think with that, I'm gonna get out of here because this episode was a very or I want to make this video as short as possible so people can enjoy this for what it is. So I'm gonna get out of here. Bye everybody. Bye everybody.